The Rise of Ahsoka Tano and the Fall of Count Dooku. Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is the Fandom Realm. And today I'm looking at the new animated series Tales of the Jedi, found on Disney+. As always, this is a spoiler review and reaction, so just be warned. Now, I do want to basically give you a little information here. This set of stories is actually divided into two storylines, and I basically already mentioned those. One looks at the rise of Ahsoka Tano, the other, the fall of Count Dooku. So the way I'm going to talk about it is along each of those storylines. Now, the reason I'm going to break it up is that episodes 1, 5, and 6 are all about Ahsoka. So I want to talk about those first. The first episode is called Life and Death, and this is going to look at Ahsoka Tano's birth all the way to her first hunting trip with her mother. Now, this is all before she becomes part of the Jedi, before she is retrieved by a Jedi to come and train on Coruscant. Generally speaking, what happens here is she's going to go on a hunt with her mother. She's just a small baby still. During that hunt, her mother is going to kill basically what was a deer for their people. And the only problem is the hunt is going to be interrupted by this saber-toothed tiger-looking creature. And the saber-toothed tiger actually is going to attack. Eventually, it runs off with Ahsoka. And so we get to see the saber-tooth take her back to its lair, and she is going to calm the beast. The episode basically ends with Ahsoka riding back into town. Everybody's been out looking for her. She rides back into town on the calmed down saber-toothed tiger. Episode 5, Practice Makes Perfect. This is going to start out basically with Anakin Skywalker putting Ahsoka through some very rigorous training. What happened is he actually saw Ahsoka doing very well in this training exercise with those little training devices they use that will basically shoot laser fire at you. And she does very good. But Anakin's not satisfied with this. He takes having her life in his hands very seriously. So he actually sets up an exercise where Rex and some of the other clones are going to basically encircle her, and they're going to be the training devices, and they're going to fire at her. And she has to go through it time and time and time and time and time again. And until she's finally able to withstand their attack. Basically, this episode ends right at the time period when Rex is taking Ahsoka in at the finale of the Clone Wars. I like this episode too. I thought it was very nice how they were able to show, Anakin really cared for her and took her life, having her life in his hands very seriously, and being able to train her and really looking a different way than what the Jedi normally did. I enjoy this episode. Episode 6 is called Resolve, and Resolve starts out right after Padme Amidala's death, as depicted in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. We're going to get to see that funeral procession. They do show Mon Mothma being there. They also show Bail Organa being there. And with that, he notices Ahsoka in the crowd. And he's eventually going to track her down, and they're going to talk. Ahsoka wants nothing to do with what's going on. She's very disappointed. You can tell everything that's happened. Padme was her friend, she says, and she is basically looking to leave, start another life. So he gives her a calm and says if she ever needs anything, she should just call him. Now, fast forward, we're going to get to see Ahsoka is living in a farming village. She is doing work on a farm. They're basically gathering hay. It's going to lead to an accident. And that accident, the hay wagon tips over. Ahsoka, using the Force, is going to save one of the villagers. And with that, she does partially reveal herself. And one of the villagers is going to call the Empire. He turns her in. That's going to lead to an Inquisitor coming, basically burning down their town and killing everybody that was there with them. With that, the Inquisitor is going to face Ahsoka, and Ahsoka defeats him, and she gets on that column, and she calls Bail Organa, and he comes to the planet, and he's going to take that family off planet. Now, I enjoyed mostly the little quick conflict between the Inquisitor and Ahsoka, and it was very quick, very to the point. Ahsoka fought the Inquisitor without a lightsaber. She basically took the Inquisitor's lightsaber and killed him with it. This just showing, these last 2 episodes on Ahsoka basically showed, hey, this is why Ahsoka is a badass. And so I enjoyed that. I enjoy Ahsoka's character. Now, everything ends off here. I'm not exactly sure on the timeline, but it does end somewhere around the time of Rebels. I think that's the timeline they're working on. I'm sure at some point we're going to get Dave Filoni verifying that information for us. So that was Ahsoka's storyline. The second storyline was the fall of Count Dooku to the dark side. And we get to see this starting with episode number 2, called Justice. 2 Jedi are dispatched to resolve a hostage situation on a distant planet. Those 2 Jedi are Count Dooku and his Padawan Qui-Gon Jinn. Now, once they arrive, they realize the entire town has kidnapped a senator's son because the senator has not been treating the local population really well, and they don't feel like they can do anything about it, so they kidnapped his son. Basically, Count Dooku is going to intervene. He goes to check on the senator's son. While he's there, the senator is going to show up with troops. This is going to lead to a showdown between the senator and his troops and the kidnappers, Qui-Gon Jinn and Count Dooku. In the end, Count Dooku is going to basically force choke the senator. He's going to be ready to kill him. Qui-Gon actually is going to go in and release the senator's son. The senator's son rushes out to save his dad, and in the end, the senator's son basically is saying, hey, how can you let this happen, Dad? And Count Dooku is basically going to tell Qui-Gon that he is such a better man than he is. Basically, I also like this episode because it really was showing and going into some detail about the corruption of the Senate and the corruption of the Republic and what was going on at the time. And that not all the Jedi, at least not Dooku, is going to agree with the way things are being done. Moving on to episode 3, that was called Choices. You have a situation here. Again, we're going to get a team up. Jedi Masters Count Dooku and Mace Windu are going to be sent to a planet to investigate the death of another Jedi Master, one of their own, and that was Jedi Master Khatri. Khatri was investigating some issues going on the planet. What we're going to find out is she was killed by the local forces. Again, another corrupt senator, more corrupt Republic people, more corruption from the Senate. This episode, I think, is important because it really shows Dooku's break with the actual Jedi Order really starting. You get to see they have different philosophies. Dooku is realizing, hey, there are rules, but those rules are just helping the rich and powerful in the Senate. Windu has the idea and the philosophy going back. The Jedi Council should make all these decisions. Yes, things may be bad, but the Council is going to be the ones that react. In the end, they do get it figured out. They do bring Master Khatri's body back home to the Jedi Temple. And that's when it's going to be revealed that Mace Windu is being offered her seat on the council. That sort of felt like it was supposed to stab Count Dooku in the back. He acted very hurt by this. He was wondering if Mace Windu knew this was going to happen when they went to the planet to find out what happened. Windu basically says that he didn't know. They both found out about the mission together. But Windu, in his I'm better than you stance, tells Dooku that he will talk to the Jedi Council about Dooku not doing what he was supposed to when they went to the planet. Now, I'm going to be honest. The biggest episode here, was episode 4. It's called The Sith Lord. And basically the idea of this episode is a Jedi Master makes a troubling discovery. Well, what happened here is we actually get to see in the first moments of the episode Count Dooku going into the Jedi archives. So the question that's been asked ever since Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, who erased Kamino, has finally been answered, because we see Dooku go in, put in Jedi Master Sifo Dyas's security code, and he erases Kamino from the Jedi archives. As he's leaving, he runs into Jedi Master Jocasta Nu, and she's going to inform him about Qui-Gon Jinn returning from Tatooine and talking to the Jedi Council about the Sith Lord that he had fought. So, we're going to catch up. We see Qui-Gon Jinn. We see Master Yaddle, Council member Master Yaddle. We all know Master Yaddle is of Yoda's species. And they're going to be talking to Count Dooku. Count Dooku, along with Qui-Gon Jinn, they're both going to be a little bit critical of the Jedi Council, basically not believing Qui-Gon Jinn. And Yaddle takes up for them. She basically says, on behalf of the Council, this is why we think this. And with that, she is going to introduce to Master Yaddle. So that scene's going to end. It's going to skip forward. And it's going to skip forward to Count Dooku is looking at a tree at the Jedi Temple, and the tree is losing its leaves. And he explains to Yaddle as she walks up behind him, she's definitely concerned about Dooku. Dooku is going to explain to Yaddle that Qui-Gon was very interested in the tree, that he was a little bit obsessed about it, really. And this is where we basically see, this is right after Qui-Gon Jinn was killed by Darth Maul. Dooku basically is going to be mourning him. Yaddle basically tells him that the ship is leaving to go to Naboo for the funeral. And so Dooku just sort of leaves. You can tell bad things were going on. Well, turns out Dooku is not happy with Darth Sidious, so he's going to jump in his ship, and he heads over to their little hangout where he met him in Attack of the Clones. But Jedi Master Yaddle is going to follow him. She's going to discover the treachery behind Dooku joining Darth Sidious. At one point, she is going to admit that she had left the council and that she had done that because basically their reaction to what was going on with the Sith. Yaddle and Dooku are going to end up fighting, and in the end, we get the answer to the question that people have been asking forever. What happened to Jedi Master Yaddle? Why did we not see her anymore? The answer to that question is Dooku killed her. Right there in front of Darth Sidious. Basically, it was almost like that was Dooku's trial to become Darth Tyrannus, I guess. Anakin had to go kill all the Jedi at the temple. Well, Dooku had to kill Yaddle. And, it wasn't spoken, but that's sort of how that whole situation felt to me. So, that basically was the end of Episode 5. That was the end of Dooku's arc and fall to the dark side. Of course, we know how that's going to end up for him. I'm going to be honest with everybody. I really liked all of these episodes. They average maybe about 15 minutes. They are very to the point. I'm not a huge fan of the animation style, but it's okay. Lots of detail. Man alive, the music, especially in the Dooku episodes, is absolutely awesome. Along with that, when I'm looking at the whole story, I think they did a good thing here. This is very Dave Filoni. I like the fact that we've gotten some of this background filled in. I think this brings us up to Ahsoka and The Mandalorian, which is going to come out, I guess, in February. I think it brings us up to this time period, or at least getting closer to it. And I don't have a problem with that. I like that. So I really like this series, Tales of the Jedi, and I'm glad they did it. The only thing is, and this is my one little issue with Star Wars, there are a lot of people out there who just keep saying, let's not fill in canon. Let's not go back and talk about anything that we know in Star Wars. Let's try to rewrite the history books, basically. Okay? And I don't have a problem with that idea. I would love to get some new Star Wars. Okay? I would love for us to skip 100 years in the future and come up with a new Star Wars. What's going on in the galaxy 100 years later. I would like to visit unknown areas. Okay, maybe find out about new Jedi or new things in the Force. That would be awesome. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to keep stories and series and movies about the characters we've grown to love. There just seems to be a lot of people out there that are wanting to get away from these stories that we're used to, and I don't want them to do that. Now, along with that little nitpick, there's also the idea of I want to start seeing Star Wars be groundbreaking again. A New Hope, basically for visual effects, no one had ever tried anything like that before. It set the standard for all the movies to come in special effects. Basically the same thing for the prequels. Whether you like the prequels or not, they set a standard and started everything that's going to come afterwards in special effects. Now, some people like green screen, some people like what it's done, some people can't stand it. A lot of people want to go back to practical effects. Personally, I loved the prequels. They did all this groundbreaking things. The Mandalorian, which everyone has loved, using that new stagecraft technology, I think it's been groundbreaking. And when Star Wars is being groundbreaking, they're doing well. The series of shorts they did in anime, I thought those were really good. I enjoyed those. If you want to do this Tales of the Jedi, I just would love to have seen them make it as an anime. Jedi Master Yaddle in anime. Master Dooku in anime. Ahsoka Tano in anime. That would have been awesome. Okay. They decided not to do it. That's fine. But I hope in the future they sort of keep that idea. They've got to press forward and be groundbreaking in Star Wars. Sorry for the rant. Now it's time to give the entire episode a grade. I'm going to grade everything together, and I'm going to give it an A-. Very good series. I'll probably watch them a couple more times. I did enjoy all the episodes. I did enjoy probably the Dooku episodes 2, 3, and 4 more than the Ahsoka episodes, because I love having canon filled in questions that we've always been asking. Just real quick before I go, I do want to tell everybody, if you have been following my Andor reactions, because Tales of the Jedi have come out, I did decide I'm going to start doing Andor every 2 episodes. So the next Andor reaction will be out after episode, I guess we're going to be 9 next week. And so if you're waiting on that, I'm going to do that the rest of the Andor season. With all that, I hope everyone enjoyed the review and the reaction. I hope everybody likes this series as much as I did. Please subscribe to the channel. I really would appreciate it. Like the video, dislike the video, whichever one you decide to do. And please make some comments below and let's talk about what we liked and disliked about this episode. And I will see you next time on the Fandom Realm.